Deep in the shadows, I know it's hard to put one foot in front of the other.
Hi guys, CeeChronicles here. Welcome and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I post fragrance reviews on this platform, and if that style of content is something that you like, please do consider joining us by subscribing. I'd very much appreciate it if you did become part of the family. Now, to those who are returning, thank you so much for the continued support. Also note, I do have a second channel, CeeChronicles Unscripted. The link of the second channel is in the description. I'm also going to put a little banner or a little picture of it there, guys, for ease of a reference. Now, welcome to today's video, guys. I have a Beasts from the Middle East. These are fragrances that are going to have you smelling good for long, right? These are long-lasting fragrances from the Middle East that are not expensive. Number one, guys, I thought to give it to Paris Corner's Amir Vibrant Spicy Tobacco. It is a mix of the notes in this fragrance, guys, that give it longevity. It is cumin mixing with tobacco, so it's very heavyweight notes in there, loads of spices, woodiness in there, and a sandalwood that weighs in is very creamy. So say for instance you do not like outright tobacco fragrances, it's going to have a creamy wrap up, something that's going to draw you in there, and the lasting power to match. Also has a gentle oud, something that some of you might smell, some of you might not. So it's not the sort of oud that I would say stay away from if you do not like oud. The bottle in itself also looks as though it's going to be a very intimidating scent, but it's not. I get a very nice, warm, creamy, sweet scent there that is unisex to my nose, that lasts till the next wash, inspired by Riddles Tobacco Mandarin. This one is from Paris Corner of their Emir line, and this one is called the Vibrant Spicy Tobacco. It's number one on the line. Now the next one, guys, is Undisputed. Okay, I would have felt some type of way if I didn't include Casablanca. I've had this one in my collection for over a year now, and it's a difficult fragrance for me. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I just can't stand it. This is your syrupy serving, very sweet syrupy serving of a fragrance, very sweet caramel forward burst there, mixing in patchouli, very patchouli heavy, very pushy. It can come across as aggressive if you spray it in the wrong season, especially if you spray it in the heat there. It can come across as doing a little too much unless your nose is kind of hardened. This is beastly even in the winter. Now imagine, the wrap up being, wearing this fragrance, being wrapped around this pushy fragrance that knows no boundaries in terms of annoying, the wearer in the heat. So I just thought to caution you guys first, but also link you, that if you do not have this one, try adding Casablanca. Swiss Arabian Casablanca is going to be a fragrance that, if you can't smell this, then I don't know what you can smell, guys. It's the second one on the lineup. The third one on the lineup is another pushy type of fragrance, Amir Aloud Intense. All right, does this say? Yeah, Amir Aloud Intense, inspired by the Fireplace. This, simply put, you've got to love to be wrapped around in a smoky scent. It does scream Middle Eastern to the T, especially the way Middle Eastern fragrances are done there. But it's also going to have a vanilla that's almost chocolatey or caramelly, very syrupy, sweet vanilla there that may make it an acquired type of scent that if you don't like it first off, you will maybe find yourself drawn to it. This just spells cold weather because of how pushy it is, because of how polarizing it is. It's a fragrance that is probably going to domineer other people's fragrances if you walked into the room, because it is long lasting, guys. Amir Aloud Intense from the house of Latafa is a third recommendation on this lineup. And then of course there's another one from Swiss Arabian, and this time is Rose 01. This to me, simply put, guys, not gonna waste your time, feels like a concentrate of Delina. I have used a lot of variations of that DNA, lots of renditions, from the oil to the real thing, to the Imperial by Amaf, to the Fragrance World one, and all sorts. And still up to now, this one is right up there, because this is not an easy DNA to go through. This is Delina on steroids. Okay, it's a Delina smell alike. It's not the actual thing, but I mean, it's a Delina smell alike that comes off as very heavy there. And if you know Delina, guys, Delina in itself is doing the most. Now imagine that amplified. So that's why I have Rose 01, guys, as a recommendation on this lineup. If you love Beast Mode fragrances, this is gonna last till the next couple of washes. It's the 4th one on the list. And then there is Aay Dubai. Now this is one fragrance that's going to take you on a roller coaster ride the very first time you spray it. I have seen fragrances disintegrating during the mail, and I think this one, guys, simply takes the cup for that. This is one fragrance that showing up in the mail presented as a fragrance that was all over. It was fighting itself. It was squishy. It was everything trying to come out at the same time. But let this fragrance sit, and you're gonna have a presentation of creamy, caramelly, buttery, coffee-like, toasty, smoky even undertone of a fragrance, butterscotch, sticky sort of a fragrance. And all this wrap up is so enduring that you're gonna smell it, you know, until the next wash as well. So this is a beast, guys. Aay Dubai is one that I would want to drop here for those who say, I love very heavy fragrances and I like my fragrances to shout. You won't be disappointed in this, but just make sure that you've taken note that it does come across as squishy, especially before it actually sits, unless you buy it maybe in the shop and it's not mailed from across the world like mine. It does come across as a bit, you know, conflicted in what it's trying to say at the beginning, but then it wraps up to a very nice, spicy, warm, very strong, heavy fragrance. Aay Dubai is number 5 on this lineup. And of course there is Lujane, right, from the Niche Emirati collection. This so far is my favorite, but again I see a situation that's similar to what's happening with my Casablanca, where it's a favorite. I'm not going to let go of it, but it can do too much. This is one fragrance that can borderline be too pushy. It's a fragrance that evolves. It's not linear, right? So when you get the first burst like this, I'm going to spray it, and I know it's going to just contaminate the entire space. First burst like this is majestical. It's like Mimo Marfa, gorgeous. Tuberose forward burst there and white florals. And then there is a spicy thing that gets into the dry down, the dry down of this fragrance. That spicy thing is so enduring, guys. It will give you a little bit of powder, a little bit of incense, a little bit of everything there, but holding on and becoming the story that this fragrance is telling. And I get a similar vibe, guys, in fragrance like Ombre Chromatique, where it's either you want to smell like that or you've got to think whether you want to smell like that day. But reaching out for this fragrance is a commitment, and a little goes a long way. This in its true self does speak to that niche quality, in the sense that it is a concentrate. And I have noticed that with the niche one. I just think they should have called them the collector's collection instead of calling them niche, because some of them are repeats but amplified. So it's going to give you a DNA, not this one, but the other ones are going to give you like a familiar DNA. But if you thought something was lacking, say for instance in Ansem Gold, they have one that kind of smells like Love Don't Be Shy, but that's going to give you that in its, you know, like in its pushy form. So I think by now I have established why this collection is there in the first place. So you can get a few gems from this collection, and to me this was one of them. This is a hit, but it's definitely going to be one that I reach for, especially in cooler weather, because it can be a little bit pushy there. Lujane, guys, it's the 6th recommendation on this list. And then of course there's Afnan's Rare Tiffany. If you have somebody who says, I want a fragrance that's loud, this is literally enough to fill the whole house. I mean, if you spray this fragrance and you're moving about your house, you're going to leave the trail of this in each and every room that you've been. This fragrance should not deceive you guys by being in a blue bottle. This is a strong fragrance. It's a combo of yellow and white florals, but they're doing the most there, pushing it pushing it, right? And then those white and yellow florals are joined by like a musky, powdery wrap up and something that's going to be aldehydic there in the mix. It's going to remind you of a lot of things. You know, I'm not going to spray because I just sprayed Blue Jane and there's only so much that I can take. So Red Tiffany, guys, is one that I would definitely recommend. I think this was one that Afnan, or maybe let me not speak about just this one. I think Afnan's quality, just based on this one, is up there. I think they do go for BeastMode. They try to make sure that their fragrances are a serving of what people are going to really enjoy, especially if you love the DNA. It's not just a promise, you know, of like a quick burst of whatever it is and then it goes away. It endures. And I can say that just based on this one bottle and some of the bottles that I did test at the warehouse when I was at Dubai Perfume Cafe, when I did my thoughts on the Afnans. You know, they're the sort of fragrances that you spray like this, you're gonna smell like that, you know, almost the entire time. So Red Tiffany, guys, lasts till the next wash. This is not blind buy safe. It's spicy, it's aromatic, but it's not blind buy safe. You ought to try it first before you buy it, because it can just be a difficult one. It's very, very pushy, this one. But remember, I said it's not blind buy safe, so do try to sniff it first before you purchase it, guys. It's Red Tiffany from the house of Afnan. And then, guys, we have Prime. Now, I had a tough time getting this fragrance to this level. I actually had to end up mixing it with other fragrances until I got a combo that actually worked, okay? Prime is from Milestone, and Milestone is a company that I intend to explore. They have their fragrances dirt cheap. If you thought Lattafas were cheap, if you thought Fragrance World fragrances were cheap, then no, you ain't seen nothing yet. Milestone fragrances are dirt cheap. Now, this, guys, draws its inspiration from Frederic Mauer's Promise, and it's a crisp, apple forward, patchouli especially forward, you know, type of fragrance. So it's gonna give you fruit and floral, but it's that piercing patchouli there that gave me the ooh, you know, from time to time. And I had to mix it with other fragrances and wear it like at the bottom of my ham there, because it's got something that I enjoy, but it's doing a little bit too much. So I'm not going to repurchase this, but I'm keeping the little juice that's in there for reference, and also thought to drop it here for anybody who likes fragrances that are loud. But do take note that some of you are going to get like a chemical thingy in this, even like a nail polish remover type of situation happening in this. If you don't mind that, then you're going to love that. But it does have the crisp apple and that aromatic tone to it, guys. It's Prime from the house Milestone. The last two, guys, or let me just say second from the last, is going to be Waffa. Waffa is a fragrance that has matured. I've had it in my collection for a long time. I don't know at what level it's on, because it comes in a dark bottle, but this is your aromatic serving, nutmeg, cinnamon, spicy type of situation there, borrowing a little bit of Carlisle as well as Black Phantom. If you love that DNA, you're gonna love it. The more it sits, the longer it lasts, right? So if you bought it or you watch some of the reviews that say, oh, this fragrance doesn't last, mine has been in my collection now for 1.5 years, and I can tell you that spraying this fragrance is also somewhat of a commitment. It's not that pushy, but it holds on, okay, especially on the clothes. It does hold on until, you know, the next wash. Holds on in that spiciness, in that wooziness, in that aromatic tone, and a little bit of a sweet wrap up there, but without being pushy as in, you know, what this one does. So I can totally wear this and I actually enjoy it, and it's one of the BeastMode ones in my collection. It's Waffa from the house Ad Al Zafran. Last but not least, so my lineup is limited to 10, but there's obviously more, right? It's going to be this one. If you can't smell this, guys, all I can say is give it time to sit. Another one that disintegrated during the post, but ended up being a fragrance that, you know, shaped up to that creme brulee kind of presentation. When I sprayed it, I had it in my collection for about two weeks, and I just couldn't for the life of me get the creme brulee. But now that it has sit for about 5 or 6 months in my collection, I do get like a distinct creaminess, a gourmand spiciness that this fragrance carries. A little bit of that pineapple. The pineapple is still overpowered by the spices, but you're going to get a more creamy forward type of fragrance in this, and it has a decent lasting power, at least up to 12 hours you're going to get from this fragrance, guys. May not last a couple of days like Rose 01, but at least 12 hours you're going to get from this one. If it's not, then give it a little bit of time, guys. It's the 10th one on the lineup. Betty Aloud, Honor and Glory from the house of Lattafa. That's it, guys. Those are the 10 beast mode fragrances in my collection that are affordable. So they're not gonna cost you a pretty penny. You do not have to drop a lot of money to smell good. And these are loud. These are fragrances that you're gonna get compliments from. These are fragrances that when people ask you how much you paid for them, especially if they don't believe in clones, they're gonna be left with their mouths open like, oh, wow. I've got to get my hands on that. Okay, so let's meet in the comments section where we discuss more about some of the fragrances that I may not have here that you'd like to recommend, that I sniff, that will stretch 12 hours plus. I'd love to know that. And while you're at it, do turn on post notifications, guys, on both my channels. That way you get to be notified anytime I upload a video. Meanwhile, like and share this one. And remember that smelling good is a form of good manners. Cheers.